Hello. My hi-fi setup's probably the number one thing I get asked to take a look at in a video, so today we're gonna do that. Alright, so today I'm hopefully going to answer most of your questions about what I use in my music setup over here. Now, this is a little bit more difficult to light video than typical because this is right up against a wall and a window, so I can't exactly put lights over there. I could open the blinds a bit more, but then you start getting reflections on the glass, so this is it's going to be a little challenging to record. But I'm going to try and take a look at everything here and explain my choices and that stuff and so on. A lot of this stuff I plan on covering in depth later. A few things I've already talked about, like the Pioneer CT-WM60R, the Sony Trinitron, was it KS4200, Pioneer SX780, but there's a few other things I haven't talked about, so I'll mention what they are and why I'm using them, and I'll go over everything in general. But one thing I want to let you know about before we really get going into this is that a lot of these things command high prices online. Now, I wouldn't recommend paying those prices. I did not for any of this, really. Most of these things I bought broken and I had to fix, so I'm the one who made them worth that in the beginning, and almost everything here came from thrift stores. So I'm not able to pay the high prices that these things would command online, and I wouldn't want to pay those prices because the only reason I have any of this stuff is because it's fun. Now, I enjoy a high quality music source, but that's not what any of this is about. This is about kicking back, relaxing, enjoying some music, and enjoying the process of playing the music. If I really wanted to have a high quality audio music listening session, I would use my FiiO X5 portable player with my Sony MDR7506 headphones, which would give me the most accurate possible experience for listening to music. This is just for giggles. Alright, now before we go ahead and dive into this area, I need to cover some of the bigger things. So let's take a look at the speakers I'm using. So my hi-fi area is kind of divided into two areas. We have the player area and we have the media and speaker area. Now the speaker areas, the speakers I'm using are, can we actually see what's going on in there? There we go. These are Sansui SP3200As. Now these speakers, they sound pretty darn good to me. They just have one kind of critical issue. These have upwards firing tweeters and a vaulted ceiling, so all of the audio is kind of moving towards the left, which sucks. Now I kind of like to decorate this area, so we have little knickknacks and lava lamps and stuff. Got a Klingon bird of prey up there and an Enterprise D there that I don't know where my stand went for. So this is currently full of video game jewel cases, and I want to relocate all of those and put audio CDs up there. They won't even come close to holding all my audio CDs, but it will get me some of them. I'm probably well over 500 audio CDs at this point. So let's look at the record shelf. So this is kind of metal and electronic for this section. We have little decorations trying to make this more visually appealing. This is soundtracks, which includes video games and movies and TV. Then down here we have other albums. These are more generically organized. There's not a main theme for there. My calculator, and then these are other typically older albums. Down below we have Laserdiscs and my Weird Al box set, and then more music down there. That one's a lot less organized. There's also music in that IKEA tub there, but that's not worth pulling out right now. So let's see here. I like my little decorations. That's always kind of fun. I have to manually focus and expose this. So yeah, if it's not great, that's why. The lava lamps are just really fun here. Wish the big one would wake up, but the others are all going. This has been running for over an hour. That big one takes forever to get going. Up here, we have some decorations and the now playing record display. So yeah, this is one of those areas that's really hard to light. But all right, and then one final big thing the chair. Now, a lot of audio enthusiasts, especially when you're getting into this kind of stuff, will try to seek out an Ames chair. Now, this is not one, and this is a little bit more than just a clone. This is an Acorns chair. This is the same kind of thing as the audio equipment. This is actually a kind of desirable chair that I just happened into, so I actually didn't pay anything for that chair, so I'm very, very happy with it. It's in really, really bad shape, though. You can see some tearing down there, and the seat, the bottom seat cushion, is supposed to be held up with straps running underneath the bars, and they're gone, so I have just rope under there for right now. But that is the basic overview of everything that is going on as far as the whole HiFi wall is kind of what this is. It's not really just a corner, it's this whole wall is dedicated to it. All right, let's move on into some specifics, starting with the headphones I was using. So these are Stanton Dynaphase 60s. These are period correct headphones here. Look at this massive 1/4-inch connector. And I don't just mean this part, I mean the plastic molding. It's gigantic. These are proper 70s headphones. They're very interesting. They actually have 2 drivers inside. There is a tweeter in the middle and then a massive woofer in the back. These weigh 3 pounds. They're huge. They have just unimaginable bass, but I turn that down mostly. When I say it has a high amount of bass, I don't mean that these rattle your skull. I mean, if you twist the bass knob on your receiver, these are never going to clip. They'll just keep going the whole way. It's insane, which, especially with some electronic music, can be kind of fun, but that's not the ideal listening experience. But yeah, these are really nice. They're very well padded on top, but usually when I'm listening with these, I'm laying back in the chair, and these are so large that they'll actually rest on the headrest of the chair rather than put all of that weight on my head, because they really weigh too much. Next up is the newest addition to my whole HiFi setup here, my Panasonic RC4769 flip clock, and I just still love this thing. It's gorgeous. It blends in so perfectly with the receiver below it. It's been running like a champ since I've done the repair video on it. It has not skipped anything. It's just perfect. Matter of fact, let me see what time it is here. It's off by 1 minute. How incredible is that? It's been running non-stop since I did that video. So that tells you that it's not only working, but it's doing pretty good. Like I said in that video, I don't ever use it for the FM or AM stuff. It doesn't make sense when you consider what's below it, but it's still really cool to have set up there. Speaking of what's below it, this is my Pioneer SX780, a 70s receiver amplifier, and this is another thing that I just absolutely love that's in this setup. This is one of those parts that I could never replace. It is absolutely exactly perfect for what I want that's going on here. So I love this thing. I use it. This is the only one that I use, even though I have a bunch of other ones. I actually have the Pioneer 424, and I have a Sansui receiver that hasn't made an appearance on the channel yet. And I also have a Yamaha RX V365, I think. That was a much more modern receiver. That one's probably the one I use the most, but that's just because I have the Technics SB407s that I did a video on a while ago, connected to that with my main desktop. Those are my desktop speakers. It's really, really overkill. But yeah, this is my main music receiver, and ooh, I love this thing. I typically don't listen too loud, so yeah, I like to leave loudness on. Since those stupid SP3200As have upwards firing tweeters, I typically have treble turned all the way up so I get the best chance of hearing reflections. And also when I'm using the Stanton Dynaphase 60s, that helps a lot too, because then, okay, I was a little wrong. They do have a little bit extra bass. It helps to assist them with that. Normally I don't like messing with the music sound, but this is a little bit of an exception, so yeah. But elsewise, this thing is absolutely perfect. I only have an A-zone set of speakers. I wouldn't mind a B-zone set of speakers on the other side of the room. That's where my workbench is. And I have some Minimus 7s that would be perfect for that. But I don't really feel like running the speaker cables, so probably we'll never get around to doing that. But yeah, this is really, really nice for what I use it for. All right, on to my turntable, which is another thing I've done a video about. This is my Audio-Technica LP120. This is the USB model, and I just don't use the USB. This is actually phono-modded as well, so it bypasses the internal preamplifier because I use it with my SX780. That works out the best. I have my Shure M97XE cartridge on there that is a special low tracking force audiophile style cartridge. And I don't buy into the whole audiophile stuff, but I love the low tracking force because I have a lot of records like, say, this one, the Dreamcast collection record, that are just almost impossible to replace. So having a stylus that damages it as little as possible is really up my alley. Unfortunately, this whole cartridge ecosystem is now discontinued, so I will have to change to something else. I'll probably get an Ortophon at some point. I also have the original head shell and cartridge here, never touched. But so if that ever starts giving me signs of concern, I'll switch to that in the meantime. But yeah, there's that. And then this is actually something back here. Let's take a look at. So this is always kind of a problem when you're listening to records. Where do you put the jacket while the record's playing? The easy solution is to leave it on top of the dust cover, but that's kind of lame. This, though, is, in my opinion, the absolute best possible solution. So this is an acrylic nail polish shelf that you can find on Amazon, and I love it. It's perfect. It works for a single record jacket like that, and if I go over and grab something that's just absolutely ridiculous, like the Hardwired to Self-Destruct box set here, it will handle that as well. The thicker ones, they don't have to lean back so much, so the angle doesn't really matter. These will kind of stand on their own, and yeah, that's a really thick and heavy album set. So yeah, I love that. That's absolutely perfect. I would highly recommend that. I'll try and figure out where it was, which one I bought, and I'll probably put that down in the description if that's something that you want. So yeah, on that note, while we're here, and you can see this a little bit more easily, this is a Pioneer 8-track player. So this is just one of those things that I have because it's kind of fun. Let's see which input's 8-track. I don't remember. Pretty sure it is connected. Come on. Well, maybe it isn't connected. Well, it's just an 8-track player. It's nothing particularly special. There's kind of no such thing as a high-quality 8-track player. They're all nearly the same mechanism, and that's the kind that would be used in a car. So, yeah, not particularly great. Behind that is the audio cassettes I have. Like, there's the one I was sent in my last mail video. So, I don't have a place where I can store those yet. Man, that's the biggest problem. The record's the only thing I have a dedicated storage area for, so that's actually all of the 8 tracks I own, I think. There might be a few more hiding elsewhere. And that might be all of the cassettes I own. I don't have a lot of cassettes or 8 tracks because they're lower on my priority list, especially 8 tracks, but I would like to get more of them at some point. So yeah, this is kind of fun. This is a punch card with my name punched into it from the Computer History Museum, and up above, actually, we can see a printout from the Computer History Museum on the IBM 1401 that they have. This is the Apollo P63 landing program printed out on their 14-inch dot matrix line printer. Actually, it's not dot matrix. That is the chain. It's like it's a type chain. So yeah, that one's really cool. I love having that there along with the LTX vintage PC sign. That's also really fun. All right, let's move all the way down to the bottom of this whole rack now. Okay, so down below, let's start off by taking a look at the two big pieces of furniture here. So first off is this thing. Well, actually, both of these, I believe, are IKEA furniture pieces. I got them separately at thrift stores just because I really liked how they would look in this configuration. So the top one, I'm not really sure what it's meant for. It could be for holding CDs or DVDs or something. I don't really know. The shelves can be positioned in multiple places, but they're really, really short, so I don't know what all you can fit. They're also fairly shallow. This isn't really deep enough. That is all the way back. These cannot go any further back, and this door doesn't quite close all the way because it's hitting the front of this. So it's not perfect for this. It's not the cable that's keeping the door from closing. It's actually the unit inside. But I really like how it looks like that. I do have some holes cut in the back, so it has a little bit of ventilation. I could probably put some really quiet fans in there to pull air through, but it doesn't get too hot aside from this, which is just kind of always on and needs to be shut off. But anyway, that's another thing. Down below, we have what I believe is a TV stand, and I just like it because it elevates everything. I really like having the turntable at pretty much this exact height, about 30 inches off of the ground. So I really like having all of this like this, and then I mostly use the bottom part for storage. I have VHS here because, well, we'll take a look at that in a moment. And then I have CDs I frequently listen to, so most of my favorite bands are over there. Down below, it's pretty much just storage because this is usually inaccessible from the chair being in front of it, so it's not that big of a deal. And then I'll explain this cable here. This might seem really odd, but usually if I want to use something like my phone or my digital music player, I'll need to have a cable coming out, and then I'll probably have this on my lap or, you know, in my pocket or something, so I won't want to have it like sitting up here or something. There's really not a lot of room up there, so I kind of leave that there. So that's what that is. And just for the record, the switcher does work. I just had the receiver still on the phono input from having played the record, so yeah, that was my bad. But yeah, aside from that, I think that's pretty much everything down here. So let's start taking a look at some of the equipment. This is a CDP 507 ESD. This is a higher end CD player. I'll leave it at that. And I do absolutely love this thing. It doesn't have an isolated tray, which is a little bit disappointing for how fancy it is. But if we pop in CD like the Venture Brothers soundtrack here, one of my favorite features it has is the track selection area over here. And this is kind of fun. If you have more than 20 tracks, which this has exactly 20 tracks, so I can't demonstrate this, you can press the greater than 20 button, and then it will allow you to select 21 through 40. So that's kind of fun. So yeah, I love this thing. This has optical out, which I of course cannot use with the SX780, so that doesn't really do anything for me. I've never used the headphone jack because 780. Also, this has headphone volume out. That's really nice. It's I think it's cassette players that never have those. It's really dumb, but yeah, I love this CD player. I never use the programming features. Who cares about that? It is slightly broken. The display button here is a little bit meh, but I don't care. So yeah, this thing, I love this thing. Unfortunately, it has some issues. I think the laser might be going out, or it might be because it's a slightly older player, or just, I'm not sure what it is, but some newer CDs, especially CDs that have lots and lots of tracks on them, they'll skip around, and it's kind of frustrating. So I don't get to listen to every CD I want to on this, which really sucks, which is why I have this cable hanging out. This goes to the line input selector I was messing around with when I was trying to get the 8-track player to work. That I'll usually plug in my FIO, and then that'll let me play whatever I want if it's not working with this. So, yep, that is my CD player. I do have a remote that works with this, but it's not the correct remote. I don't think there's an eject button on here. No, maybe CD? I don't know. But anyway, yeah, I love this CD player. It's just a shame that it doesn't work that great. I forget what year it is. There's a sticker on the back that'll say what year it is on almost every CD player ever made, but I don't really want to pull it out because it's a nightmare to wire in all these cables. So, all right, let's take a look at what's below it, because that's, in my opinion, one of the most interesting things here. And that is the JVC HRS5500U. And what is this? It's a VCR. Now, if that seems a little odd to have in a HiFi setup like this, I want to really consider just how many music VHS there are. I mean, we were looking down at my shelf down there. I just pull those up. I mean, there's a ton of good music on VHS, and it all has video that accompanies it. Now, one of the things about music on VHS, let's take a look at, well, this one just says VHS HiFi. That's not really saying a whole lot, but if we keep an eye out here, here we go. John Williams Seville in concert, Dolby B noise reduction. And if we pop this in, we will see that it does activate a form of noise reduction along with the video. And that just means that these VHS are really not a whole lot different than, say, an audio cassette, in that they will use noise reduction to make the audio sound better. So there's a lot going on when it comes to VHS audio. Now, another cool feature about this thing, if I fast forward here to the point where there is guaranteed to be some audio, well, while it's fast forwarding to an audio section, this thing has so many little hidden doors in it. It's hilarious. This is not an easy VCR to find, as far as I can tell. So it's a little bit less common, and it's so fancy. Speaking of fancy, look at this remote. This is crazy. This is definitely one of those things that I want to do a full video on at some point. But for now, I'll just talk about it here. There we go. Oh, I was looking at it up here. So down here, you can, a little bit hard to see, there's VU meters. That's kind of cool. I thought it had a Dolby noise reduction indicator, though. Maybe up in here. This is really faded out. I think this VCR has been left on for a really long time. When you turn it off, this display is still active, so it's kind of unfortunate. It also gets insanely hot. I really need to move everything on this setup to one of those under monitor power switches, like I just did a video on, and then I can turn this off when I'm not using it. But yeah, this is one of those devices that I think belongs in every hi-fi setup that tries to be all-encompassing, because, I mean, you never know when you're going to want to watch MC Hammer Time with the music video. So, you know, I just think it belongs there. Next is my Pioneer CTWM60R, and this is something that's actually already had a full feature video on it, so I'm not going to spend too much time here, but in brief, it's a dual deck cassette player, but the deck A is a 6-deck changer. So this thing is pretty darn sweet. I have a full repair video on this. They're an absolute nightmare inside. If you want to watch that video where I just absolutely pull my hair out, then you could do that. But yeah, this is not necessarily the best cassette player ever, but it's kind of fun. I have a few others I'm considering replacing this with, so that's something I might take a look at in the future. I actually really want one that matches that CD player, and that's something I've been trying to keep my eye out on. I have a couple of contenders, but they're all broken because cassette players are just ridiculously fragile equipment. All right, now down here we have two different devices. We have a TIAC EQA-10 graphic equalizer and a Pioneer RG-2 dynamic processor. And neither one of these are actually really used in the audio system. These are hooked up to the tape record output on the Pioneer SX780, so I can just have some fun blinking lights to go with the music. That's all these do. So if I actually start playing something through the CD player here, the Venture Brothers soundtrack, now it may not be easy to hear what's going on, but this is just whistling, so it's a slightly higher frequency sound. And the dynamic expander is acting as VU meters. So this gives me both of the major types of displays that you would have when you're listening to music on this, and it's really fun. I like that these are both silver face, but I kind of want everything down here to be, you know, the mid-90s blackface type stuff, so I'm a little disappointed that it doesn't match, but yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and stop this. So yeah, I really like these. This dynamic expander sounds like garbage when you actually listen to it. I absolutely don't recommend it. There are real reasons to use a graphic equalizer. I've used that for noise reduction in the past for some stuff, so that's one reason you might actually want to have one. But yeah, I'd rather just leave the audio source alone or do last minute tuning with the bass and treble knobs on the receiver itself. Now, this setup does a pretty good job of covering everything that I might really want to listen to, but I am missing two pretty significant formats, in my opinion. DVD and Laserdisc. Both of these had some great music releases on them, and it just kind of sucks that I don't have them incorporated. I do have these two spaces down here, but I'm not sure if it's deep enough for a Laserdisc player. If I was going to put a Laserdisc player in this setup, then I would do the laser karaoke player that I showed a while ago. And for the DVD player, well, it's going to be something a little different. Let's take a look at what that would be. Now, for a DVD player, I'm really feeling the Sony DVP S9000 ES. Oh boy, this thing is on the decadent end of the spectrum here. I mean, let's just look at that tray pop out. It's got to warm up first. Oh yeah, look at that. That thing's just stupid, isn't it? Let's put a disc in there. Now, the biggest downside of this thing is that it's kind of meant to have a whole bunch of controls run through the remote, and I don't have the remote for this, and I can't remember. I think the remote's not too bad to get, but I don't like using the stuff that's in this cabinet with a remote, so I would prefer not to have to find that. So most music DVDs, though, you can start by just pressing play, so there would be that. This isn't wired in right now, but you know, this is kind of what I'm thinking for DVDs. This would get me one other capability, SACD. I only own one SACD though, and it's a hybrid, and the hybrid capability on this is not currently working, so I wouldn't exactly be able to use that. Matter of fact, this is the second SACD player I have that can't read the hybrid layer on this 9 Inch Nails disc, and I have actually used someone else's SACD player and verified this now. This disc is real and does work. It is hybrid SACD, but none of mine will actually play it, so for now, I think I'm just going to have to go with no SACD. It's not like SACD matters anyway, though. This is a pretty Kool-Aid type media format, so it doesn't matter too much. But yeah, I would really like to have DVD set up here at some point. So thinking about putting this in there. This thing weighs a ton. This thing is insane. It's so ridiculous. I mean, look at this. I'm going to flip this over. Ugh. The bottom of this thing. Oh, it's so heavy. Copper. This is crazy. Now, it's not actually made of copper. I'm pretty sure this is just copper-plated steel, but still, it's ridiculous. It weighs so much. Oh, man. I don't know how much this thing was when it was new. This was $1,500. This thing's insane. But yeah, it would be fun to put this in here. I don't have a lot of my music DVDs out because I don't have them, but you know, Animusic would be another good one. Although I do have that on VHS as well, but not Animusic 2. I don't think that one was on VHS. So yeah, music DVD, that would be something I would like to get into. All right, that's pretty much it for the hardware I use. I guess I could do, as a final little roundup here, things I would and would not recommend. Pretty much everything here that I'm using, I would recommend. I have a lot of other stuff that I'm not using. I could easily rebuild this rack 3 more times now with different hardware, and yeah, you would never know the difference of sacrificing quality. But, you know, I don't think I would recommend this cassette player. But I'm also not sure if I would recommend any cassette player because they all have their demons waiting. The CD player, I like it. I would not recommend buying one on eBay because they're way overpriced when just any CD player sounds fine. I just like some of the features this one has, and I was able to get it for a more than affordable price. So I like that. The VCR, I haven't gotten a lot of time on it yet. I don't know how many more music-focused VCRs there are, but from what I have played around with this one, I enjoy it. Some of my VHS tapes here have some tracking issues, so I haven't really sorted out which ones of these are good yet to really, you know, be fair on this. This stuff, don't use, and then just display, it's fine. SX780, I love it. It's perfect. There are receivers that have higher watts per channel than the SX780. If you really dive into that stuff, then you'll find out, ooh, it's like the 1980s, the big bad daddy. Any one of them is fine. You're never going to use 200 watts per channel without going deaf unless you're on the other side of a football field or something. So, you know, even I think this is a 45 watts per channel receiver. That's fine. It's very, very fine. And I love how this one looks. The more knobs and switches they get on them, the more they look like ham equipment to me. So this one is kind of the perfect balance. I love that one. So I would recommend that. LP120, definitely recommended. I think they're replacing it now. I saw something about a newer one, and I wanted this in black initially, but the black is glossy. The new one, it might be brushed metal. I'm not sure. That looks pretty good. So anyway, I'm not going to replace this one. It's doing fine. 8-track player, I would just recommend not getting into 8-track. It's just for the novelty that I have it. But yeah, pretty much everything else here. The Sansui SP3200A speakers, don't recommend because of the upwards firing tweeters. They are pretty much the best speakers I own right now. I have some SP1500s, but those aren't better than these, even with the forward firing tweeters. So yeah, these do sound better than my Technique SB407s though. So there is that. Yeah, there's a lot going on here. Let's see. There was here's something. CDs. So if you're like me and you like a video game soundtrack, like say Sonic CD here, but you don't want to try and source a difficult to find original audio CD soundtrack release, or have to pay for a vinyl copy like this, you might be able to use the original game for PC. So Sonic CD on PC, you can put the CD into a CD player and it will play. The audio for this game and many others, I got a whole stack full of games here that every single one of these you can pop into a CD player and they'll play. And you get to listen to all of that soundtrack goodness in perfect quality because it's just an audio CD. So that's a good thing to know if you're into collecting video game soundtracks. And also, a lot of video game soundtracks get CD releases. Loco Roco, there's one. Sonic Adventure had a real release, but I'm not sure that this isn't a bootleg, actually. I found out after I bought that there are bootlegs. Some lesser common stuff, Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts, Tempest 2000. Oh yeah, this is the DOS CD soundtrack though, even though it has the Jaguar artwork. So do keep that in mind. It's not the mod files played through. Doom. Oh, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about 3D Dot Game Heroes. Yeah, that's an amazing soundtrack. Anyway, I could just keep going on and on and on about all this because it's so much fun, and that's why I have all this stuff, for the fun. So I should probably just end it here. If you enjoyed this video, I will have more video on hi-fi stuff in the future. Definitely at VCR at some point once I get more comfortable with it. If you want to support the channel, I am on Patreon, but for now, that's it. I'll see you later.